Hey guys, what's up? It's Alec Torelli. I'm a professional poker player and coach, and I play a lot of the time out in Macau. And I'd like to share in this video what the poker scene is like out here in Macau in 2019. You know, when I first started coming here in 2012, the games were totally different. I mean, I remember coming here for Chinese New Year in 2012, coming into the Wynn in Macau, where I'm standing in front of, and I sit down and there's 3 1,000, 2,000 games. You divide by 8 to get to US dollars, so it's like 125, 250. 3 of those games, and I was the only Western pro in my game, and there was 1 other Western pro in each of the other 2 games. So the games were unbelievable. It was like discovering party poker back in 2005, and I was like, this is a gold mine. This is not gonna last. My wife and I are moving here. We're going all in on Macau, and I spent the next 4 years playing high stakes poker out here because the games were just so epic. Now, fast forward to today, 2019, markets are efficient. And things have changed a lot in Macau, and I noticed this even while I was living here, that the influx of pros from, all over Europe, all over Australia, some of the Americans started coming from different places. And so what happened was the local pros that we could just beat the games because they knew how to raise and c-bet got slowly weeded out by the Western pros and by the local pros getting better and better. And so it was a sink or swim environment where you either have to learn to compete with the best or you just get weeded out. And that's sort of what happened out here. And now you see games that are pretty efficient at the higher levels. I mean, you see just today, for example, there's a 1K, 2K game that has 6 of the best online pros from all over the world that are playing, waiting for a VIP to sit down. So it's basically like a high stakes 6 max online stars game with the cream of the crop, the best online players that also crush live poker, that are just superstars, and they're waiting for a VIP to come. And that's where the 1K, 2K game has evolved to today. And so sometimes there's great games. Sometimes, VIP sits down and then, some mediocre pros get in and some bad regs get in and all those sorts of things, and the game ends up being good. But the highest level games have gotten super, super tough. And that has filtered down. So sometimes those pros play 300, 600, which makes that game tougher. 300, 600 game is a pretty tough game. I would say it's probably equivalent to I don't know what it's equivalent to online, but it varies. There are days where there's like couple 2, 3 VIPs and some bad pros and the game's really good. There are other days like yesterday where there's like 8 pros waiting for a VIP, and it's just like you're competing against other pros, and it depends on how bad they are. Now the 100, 200 game, things change a lot. The 100, 200 games there are days when it's bad, but it is by and large pretty damn good. I think it's a pretty good game, and it plays pretty deep. So sometimes everyone will buy in 20K, which is 100 big blinds, but other times, like yesterday, it was playing where everyone had 50K on the table. And so it was a pretty decent game that was running, and there were a few bad players in the game. Sometimes the bad players are punters, where they're aggressive bad players, the best type to play against because of course they lose money faster. But there are other times where it was a little bit more passive, where they were limp call, check full type of bad players. And in live poker 9-handed, that's really a grind to play. So you really have to kind of understand what types of games you're looking for. And so honestly, you just kind of have to experiment. It's really hit or miss out here, because sometimes all the games run around 1 VIP. And if that guy's in town, the games are great. If they're not, it's not as good. And so it's really just sort of hit or miss. One thing that is true about Macau is on any given day, you can absolutely guarantee pretty much 24 hours, you're gonna find a 50-100 no limit hold'em game. There's usually 3 or 4 tables that run. Waiting times can be, sometimes upwards of a couple hours, but games are running and starting so frequently that you could pretty much always find this game running, and the game is very, very soft. I'm not exactly sure about stack sizes because I've never played, but I see that the game is very soft, and a lot of my fans and readers that I talk to are out here playing, and they tell me, and we talk about the game and talk hands and strategy, some of the videos which you could find on this YouTube, and they say that the games are very, very soft, and I know that they're beating the games for a lot. Now, that's sort of a little bit about the landscape here at the Wynn. There's one other place you could play out here in Macau as well, which is the Venetian. I'm on the Macau side. The Venetian is across that bridge behind me on the Taipa side, and you could play poker there as well. I'm not exactly sure about all the games there, but from what I've heard, they run 50, 100, and 100, 200, and very rarely they get a bigger game, and when they do, it's absolutely epic, but it's very hard to get in because you kind of have to just be lurking around there. Most of the people that I know play here at the Wynn, and that's mainly because of the rake considerations. While the games at the Venetian are arguably better sometimes, the rake is from what I hear, higher, and so it makes the games more lucrative to play here at the Wynn because of the rake considerations. Now, the rake is 5% capped at $200, and so that's an important factor to keep in mind because the rake does add up, especially when you're playing 50, 100, and 100, 200. It is a couple big blinds or a big blind maximum, which eats into your win rate, meaning the adjustment you need to make is to play a lot tighter because you're losing a percentage of your EV on every single hand you play. Now, if you do play bigger games like 3-6 or 100, 1K, 2K, the rake is still capped at 200. I think it's 300 for the 1K, 2K, but it's so small in percentage to the game that it actually has less of a consideration, so you're incentivized to play bigger. There are no comps here in Macau. Unfortunately, poker players get 0 rake back. They do have free tea and stuff in the poker room, and the Wynn is an absolutely beautiful environment to play in, but there are no comps here for poker players. So that is something to keep in mind, and you can't really bring in outside food or drink when you're playing poker at the Wynn. One more thing you're probably wondering is, where do you stay when you're out here in Macau? Well, there are various options, everything from the 5-star, luxury option of staying at the Wynn where all the poker games are, or the Mandarin right next door, or MGM. Those are great options, but they are expensive. There's also a middle of the range option called Ascot, which is right next to MGM, so it's really close to the Wynn if you want to play poker there. And it's also like a fully serviced apartment, so you do have a kitchen and a fridge there where you could kind of feel a little bit more normal. There's a grocery store called SAMU right next by, or Park and Shop on the Taipa side, where you can go and get more Western and healthy organic type of vegetables and all those sorts of things if you do want to cook or experience that. Some people do get food poisoning out here because the bacteria is different. I've definitely been in the hospital a few times with an IV on New Year's and several other times, unfortunately. So be careful about that, and it's something just to kind of keep in mind. I heard grapeseed extract works really well, but again, I'm not a doctor, but that I've heard works really well for stomach, so look into that sort of thing. Make sure you're kind of like stocked up on supplements or your supplement plan and all that stuff if you come out here. As for the food, eating at the Wynn and the Mandarin and MGM is fantastic. The food is super good. They have 5-star chefs from all over the world, different types of restaurants. Again, that option is kind of expensive, but realistically, if you're gonna try and get your hourly in at the poker table, you're realistically gonna get it at the Wynn. The food is healthy and good. There are definitely Western options available, and it's pretty easy to navigate eating at the Wynn. There's a cafe called Esplanada. There's one called Vida Rica at Mandarin, which is my favorite, and then there's the cafe right at MGM where like all the poker players go and kind of hang out too. Those are some great options with healthy food, and you could spend $20, $30 for a meal, which is a little expensive, but it is what it is in the poker scene. So that's some options for food out here if you're looking to eat and stay healthy while in Macau. So back on the places to stay, that's what it is with Ascot. There are also Airbnb options. That's a great way to save money on a budget option. You could even bunk with a roommate, and that's a great option as well, and you could kind of take the best of both, having a nice place to stay, but also saving some money on that. Lastly, there's the place where I lived for 4 years, right in front of the MGM and across from the Wynn, called One Central. It's a popular shopping mall out here, and above the shopping mall there are condos, and that's where most of the poker players that are out here full time live, because it's really close. They have a beautiful pool, the beautiful gym, all the amenities, the nice life of a high-rise condo with a kitchen and everything like that, but you're also really close to the Wynn, and it's probably the nicest place to live. You can get a maid out here for very cheap. They could service your condo, and you kind of have like a more full-time thing. There are poker players out here that end up renting their condo out for a month to like other people, because people don't end up living full-time in Macau for visa issues and personal reasons. They don't really live full-time in Macau. They come and go for like, a month at a time. So when they're not here, they're very liable to rent their condo out to other poker players. But that's hard to kind of do from abroad. You kind of have to be here and make friends and then connect with those people and then work out a personal relationship with them to figure out how to do that while you're here. You could look online on Airbnb. You want to look at One Central. That's by far the nicest place to stay, and it's the most convenient, and it's kind of the hub. It's the equivalent of like Panorama Towers in Las Vegas, where all the poker players sort of live. That would be my recommendation if you're looking for that. Not the hotel, the super expensive option, but it's still a really nice option to live. I lived there for 4 years, again, like I said, and it was great. Now, one thing you may be wondering is, like, is it safe to play out in Macau? How is Macau? Is it a safe place? Honestly, I've been lucky to travel to 45 countries, most of which have been for poker, and I could easily say that Macau is the safest place in the world, maybe up there with Monaco. I think Macau might be even more safe, to be honest, of a place for playing poker and just your feeling of being here. Like you see in some US casinos where you hear stories of people getting robbed outside the casino, or like they get held at gunpoint or whatever. Like, the chance of that happening in Macau, I think, is like the least out of anywhere in the world. I've never, ever felt unsafe out here. I never feel like I'm getting followed, anything like that. I feel like it's an extremely safe place to be as well. One thing you could do if you are wondering about money out here, and I'm not an expert in this area, so please don't ask questions about this. Seek legal guidance for something like this because it's above my pay grade. But there is a player account at the Wynn that you could open where you could just leave money on deposit at the Wynn once you're here that sort of acts like a bank account, and that's what a lot of players like doing. Now, as far as wiring money here and all that stuff, that's above my pay grade, so I can't answer questions about that in this video, unfortunately. So seek professional opinion about that if you're looking to get money out here in Macau. So that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave me your thoughts or questions below. If I missed something, I will try and answer them in the comment section. And if you like this video, you want more information about the poker scene out in Macau, there are a ton of videos on this YouTube, so be sure to subscribe and you'll be notified when they come out as well. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time on Ask Alec. Cheers.